I had a relative try to put her son on the school bus, his first day of kindergarten, and got upset when the driver refused to let him on because he wasn't on the list. She never registered him for school and just thought she could put him on the bus and send him. For as long as I can remember, my father had red eyes after showering. I didn't even think about it. One day as a teenager, a friend slept over, and in the morning she saw my dad dressed and ready for work, freshly showered, red-eyed. She asked him why his eyes were red, and he simply said, "Shampoo." She then, very carefully and as respectfully as she could muster, asked him why he didn't close his eyes, and he laughed and said, "What do you think? I'm an idiot? Closing my eyes in the shower, sheesh." My dad did a lot of things that embarrassed me, but that one was pretty high up there. My brother was tasked to bring mashed potatoes for Easter dinner, and he walked in and put a bag of potatoes on the counter and said, "Here you go." Oh, wow. After my wedding, I put my mom in charge of saving the anniversary cake in a box. She couldn't find said box and wanted to leave the reception early, even though she was in charge of the cleanup crew. So she told my uncle to put it in a bag. He found a grocery bag in the venue's kitchen and picked the anniversary cake up with his hands and put it directly into the plastic grocery bag. He kept it in his hotel fridge and brought it to us the next day. Handed me a grocery bag and I was like, "What's this?" Opened it up to find a $100 cake all smashed up. My nephew robbed a liquor store during a snowstorm in the middle of the night. He didn't have a car, so he had to walk. All the cops had to do was follow his footprints back to his house. Happily married with kids. While at the grocery store, we ran into one of my 5-year-old daughter's friend's family. My daughter then told the friend's mom that she and I should get married because she was nicer than her mom. Awkwardness ensues. Turns out my daughter wanted another sister, but she didn't want a baby around the house. Easiest way to do that in her mind was for me to marry another lady with a kid, so her friend could be her sister. 1-year-old daughter stole 2 sticks of butter off the counter. I learned this by finding her hunched in the corner like a gremlin, eating one and feeding the other to our cat. This is life on Earth, crouched over warm linoleum, sharing thieved dairy with an animal familiar. I had to explain and show to my older brother that you can and should clean your Phillips beard trimmer from inside the little bits as well. We both got the same exact model as a gift on Christmas, I think. And it turns out he hadn't opened up and cleaned the little rotary bits the entire time he had it. Years, literally years, at least 5. And was complaining how it's very slow and probably needs to be replaced with a new one. I thought, that's weird. Mine is around the same age and is still perfectly fine. So I turn it on, and it makes this very gritty sound like the machine is so slow as if it's dying and stuff, even though it's fully charged. I open it up, and goddamn, the little rotary blades were so clogged up with years-old dust and hairs, it was a miracle the thing was still working at all. Turns out, he didn't even know you could open them. I cleaned it all nice and clean, and the thing started working good again, as much as it can, afterwards. Read instructions, please, before you disregard something as broken, like goddamn. Talking to my very Catholic cousin. The only reason you believe in evolution is because you're racist and think black people look like monkeys. He said this just like in an Olive Garden. My GF's grandfather had started to be, let's say, less accurate when peeing standing and leaving a mess in the washroom. I suggested that there's nothing wrong with sitting down for peeing, and that would make life easier for everybody. All her family stared at me, like in shock. True, my GF and her family didn't know that males can pee while sitting. Everybody in that family thought that as a male, the only physical way to pee is standing. My mom once went on holiday across the country and asked me for the home Wi-Fi password, because the hotel she was in wanted her to pay to use theirs. But I have it at home. She didn't get it and thought I was being so cruel not letting her use it. My mom and I moved in with my grandparents when I was 10 years old. Old enough to have learned how to do some basic chores, and certainly old enough to be taught more. Unfortunately, my grandmother, God bless her, was not only terrified of fire, her mother had a problem with accidentally setting things on fire. But she was also a neat freak who insisted on doing everything herself, so it was done right. My mom married my stepdad when I was 14 years old, and we moved into a house together as a family. He was horrified to learn that, at nearly 15 years old, I did not know how to wash and dry my own clothes, iron, load a dishwasher, or even use the stove. I could use the oven because I baked with my other grandmother when I visited, but I had never used the stovetop. There were many more things he had to teach me, but those were the things that really had him worried about my ability to care for myself as an adult. It wasn't that my grandmother didn't want me to be able to care for myself. Her fears were just so intense that she didn't think about how not knowing these basic skills would affect me later in life. I am forever grateful to my dad for being the dad I needed, because God knows the biological one couldn't be bothered. Mom couldn't overrule her own mother when we lived with her, and by the time she married Dad, she was sleeping at the hospital 5 nights a week because her schedule was so insane. I don't even want to think about who I would be if I hadn't had him to teach me. But I'm pretty sure I would have had to live off of chocolate chip cookies, brownies, and takeout through my 20s if it weren't for him. I probably would have smelled pretty bad from the lack of clean clothes too. So some background info. My dad is a mechanic, so I've been very lucky to have the importance of vehicle maintenance drilled into my head from a young age. When my now fiancé and I had been dating for about 6 months, I needed to change the oil in my car. So I asked when the last time she had changed her oil was. She had never changed it after owning the car for 3 years. I immediately brought it to my dad's place, as I wasn't sure what to expect. We decided to add oil to properly flush it before we changed the oil a week later. It took 3.5 quarts of oil, and the engine only holds 4 quarts total. The car still runs 2 years of regular oil changes later. To paraphrase my dad, it speaks to the quality of Kia Hyundai engines, since most cars would have seized up given how low it was for so long.